Good evening, everyone. Welcome to my scope tonight. I hope you are all well this Tuesday evening. Welcome, Zoraida. Welcome, love. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you all for joining. Welcome, Miracles, Bearded Pax. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you all for the hearts. And welcome to Sexuality Power, where we talk about the unspoken. So tonight it is going to be a very, very interesting topic. We're going to be talking about commitment and what does that look like? How does it change? And really some tips that we can all use in helping guide us through our journey in commitment. Thank you, Miracles, for sharing, and I invite you all to share as well. Sharing is caring, and if you care for your friends, you want them to get this information too, so share via social media, share with your followers. And thank you all for being here tonight. So let's get started. So tonight I really wanted to hone in on commitment because earlier today, if you didn't catch my afternoon inspiration that I did today, go see it because I talked a little bit there about commitment. And tonight I really want to hone in on commitment in relationships. Thank you, Zoraida Love, for sharing on Facebook. Thank you. So I'm only going to glance to the side because I want to give you as much as I can here. And I have some notes I'm going to look at. But when I talk about commitment, I want to read to you this definition because I found this definition and I think it's a pretty good one, and I liked it. So commitment is a willingness, keyword here, a willingness to give of your time and energy to something that you believe in, or a promise or firm decision you have made to do something. Right? So decision being a key word, and willingness, right? And giving. So those three are the key words for me in this definition of commitment. And I know, you know, we often commit to things and it starts to feel at some point like an obligation. And especially in relationships, one of the things that I have seen throughout my practice and my years in this field is that when commitment does turn into an obligation, when that sense of obligation begins to set in the relationship, that is usually about the point where two things have happened. Infatuation has weaned, and also that's the point where there's a lot of conflict beginning to arise in a relationship. So these are the moments where we kind of go into this space of obligation, promise, and strong decision. Yes. Thank you, Zoraida, for writing that. It is a promise and a strong decision. So whenever we make that decision, whenever we give up our power in that decision, that is when we are breaking down and really shifting into that space of obligation, right? So two things have happened there, right? We have began probably some of the manifestations in the relationship are arguments and, feeling unsatisfied or unhappy, whatever that may look like for you. But there's also these other factors playing out, and it's this lack of power, right? We give up our power when we say, this commitment now rules my life. This commitment now is an obligation. It's something I have to do. right? There's no power in having to do anything. We get to, right? We decide to. We make a choice. So really, commitment is about standing in that choice, right? Standing in that decision that you have committed to giving of yourself to a job. Or in this case, we're talking more specifically to a relationship, right? That you have committed to give of yourself to someone else unconditionally, right? Usually when we are, it's unconditionally. How do we know if that promise or decision is right for everyone involved? Zoraida, I think that's a great question. So thank you, love, for asking it. And my answer to that is we don't know when it's right for someone else. So each person has to really own their decision, right? So you have to have this open communication with whoever's involved and really honoring, what are their needs, right? In a relationship, there's an extent, a negotiation that has to happen, right? If your love language, Zoraida, is time, quality time, and my love language, and let's just pretend here, we're in a relationship, and my love language is physical touch, and that's actually what my love language is. How do we negotiate our needs, right? Because they're very different needs. Time is very different from touch, right? So that is a process that, we're not taught to negotiate. Women aren't taught to negotiate mostly. And even the men who are taught to negotiate, it's in a business arena. So we're not really taught to communicate and negotiate in relationships. And that is really what also needs to happen when that commitment begins to feel like an obligation. It's time to go back to the table and say, hey, this isn't working for me. This is working. This need has presented itself in my life. I don't know if this relationship can meet it. What do you feel? Can you meet this need? Can we find a way to meet this need for me together? And really just working with your partner. But communication is a huge, huge, huge part of it, right? And honoring that in every single moment of a relationship, of this process, you have the opportunity to decide. You have the opportunity to really step into your power in that choice. And that's what I've seen is where we give up. We give up our power. We surrender it to someone else and really stop connecting to that inner knowing of what's true for us. We're all knowing, right? We always know what we need, and it's a matter of really expressing that. And also of understanding, one of the things, and I'll just reference to this and show you the image, but I won't really go into too much detail. Maybe I'll do tomorrow's scope on this topic again. But really understanding that relationships also take different turns and twists, right? There's different forms of love. There's different ways of expressing love. And we can have in a course of one relationship, it can look very differently at different stages. So also honoring that, right? Because sometimes commitment isn't part of a relationship, and that also can play into the needs and the negotiation and all of that's happening. So I invite you all to really, and I want to show you triangle of love. So as you see, there is, different forms of love, and consummate love, which is all encompassing. That's where, I think that's what most people are looking for. to experience at some point in their lives, maybe not at this point in their lives, but at some point people do want to know what intimacy feels like, what passion feels like, what commitment feels like. And, you know, that's a very specific formula, right, of love expression. So I also invite you to see what kind of love do you want to have in your life? How do you want to experience love? Because that's also going to impact how you feel about your commitments and whether it's feeling like an obligation or not. So any questions out there? I know this is an intense topic, and I just want to honor if there's any questions out there. I'd love to interact with you all. And Zoraida, thank you once again for your questions, love. It really was a great question and an automatic entry into another point that I wanted to make. So it flowed very seamlessly. Thank you, thank you. So I don't see any questions. Thank you, Zoraida. I'm always here, love, always supporting you all. Like I've said before, I'm here. My name's Dianese, for those of you who are just joining. And we here at Sexuality Power are about talking about the unspoken and really supporting you all in your spiritual and sexual journey. So if there are no questions, I will wrap up right now, and I want to close out with a little gong. So I have a gong here, and I love to just have us all go away with a little positive energy. So until tomorrow, I wish you a passionate evening. Bye.